The Ghana Cocoa Board has secured commitments worth $1.5 billion in order to fund purchases of cocoa beans for export in the 2010-2011 season. It's been reported that the transaction was oversubscribed at $1.8 billion and that the borrower increased the facility to $1.5 billion. To tell us more, we're joined on the line from Accra, Ghana by Anne-Marie Woolley, who's the head of structured trade and commodity finance for Africa at Stanbic Bank. Thank you very much for coming through. This transaction to raise money for the Ghana Cocoa Board, said to be one of the largest structured soft commodity finance facilities in Africa. Tell us about your involvement and how you've approached it.
Hi, yes, good afternoon. We had a very successful signing today. The transaction has been a long-established one, arranged by international over 18 years. The Ghana Cocoa Board normally go out to a number of banks seeking competitive tenders. Stanbic Bank, together with its joint IMLAs, which were Credit Agricole, Stanbic Bank, ICBC, and Ghana International Bank, formed a joint group together and bid to underwrite the whole deal. And we won under a competitive tenders, which we were delighted to have done.
All right, now the purchase is to be used, or the facilities to be used for the purchase of cocoa for the 2010-2011 season. Just tell us a little bit about how these export contracts work.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, in fact, they're just getting to the harvest season now for the very the thousands of small-scale farmers across Ghana who are harvesting their cocoa pods and drying them. And at the moment, the industry set up in Ghana so that all of them sell their beans ultimately to Ghana Cocoa Board, who are therefore able to arrange very good contracts with international buyers at much better price, by acting as the coordinating exporter of record. And it's on the back of that that the country is able to raise these funds, which enables a very timely payment of cash to the farmers when they deliver their beans.
Now, we know that cocoa is the second largest producer, or Ghana is the second largest producer of cocoa the world over. How is this transaction going to enhance their role in global markets, especially in the area of supply?
I think they remain the second largest. Their neighbour at Côte d'Ivoire is much larger, and partly by into the fact that Côte d'Ivoire has very large-scale commercial farms. Ghana has much smaller-scale farmers with farms of around 2 hectares or less. So it's through this facility enabling farmers to get immediate cash payments so that they can then afford to make the investments they need in either replacing plants, in sorting out their fertilizers and their pesticides, increasing the area under production. It allows them to sort of enhance that. And at the moment, the Ghana government and the Ministry of Agriculture are still predicting that actually growth in their cocoa crop will indeed rise to its current level of around about 700,000 metric tons to over 1 million within the next 2 to 3 years.
All right, now let's talk about developing the financing mechanisms within Ghana itself. We know that about 40% of foreign exchange earnings come from cocoa exports, but as you're saying, the liquidity is a challenge. What needs to be done to improve on financing for the farmers and for the industry and the production mechanisms?
And financing of any kind of agricultural production has been tough across the continent. There are issues around land ownership, and therefore bankers find it difficult in some cases to provide necessary inputs finance for clients. Certainly, Stanbic Bank has an arrangement with a number of what we call DFIs, development agencies like the Gates Foundation and Accra, where we're working to definitely promote primary agriculture, to work to enable us to sort of finance what would otherwise be unbankable type clients, to promote primary agriculture, cocoa being one industry, but obviously not exclusively just for cocoa production, but for many other sort of what we call cash crops as well.
Okay, we also know that the industry has generally suffered from issues of pestilence, but also suffered from production weaknesses, not just in Ghana, but in the main producer, for instance, the Ivory Coast, and that's informed the pricing of cocoa internationally. How can the Ghanaian producers influence prices internationally through improvements of their production mechanisms?
Well, the Ghanaians have a very well-established quality control division that keeps a track of the husbandry that the farmers have of their farms and of the trees. Where the pods are growing, they will deliver to them pesticides where necessary, fertilizer as it's required, and definitely through promotion of that. I think where you've got large-scale commercial farmers and less perhaps government involvement that's looking to promote it specifically, it's been more difficult. But certainly the Ghanaians have had a long history now of also working in their science laboratory to find strains of the plant that are more resistant to different types of disease that can affect yield.
And Anne-Marie, just a final question from our side. Just give us a comparative sense of how cocoa production and farming fares. We have Ghana as the second largest producer, Ivory Coast as the main producer, Nigeria as a budding producer, and Cameroon as well.
Yeah, I think obviously the agronomy here, the weather in this part of the world lends itself to cocoa production, and I think will remain a dominant force through, as you say, the various countries that are becoming emerging producers, and countries like Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire that are much longer established, but still all looking to take advantage of increase in demand from various sources, looking to affect prices accordingly.
Okay, thanks so much for coming through. That's Anne-Marie Woolley, who's the head of structured trade and commodity finance, joining us from Stanbic Africa in Ghana. And it's largely because of a deal that was finalized today in favor of Ghana Cocoa Board, the largest structured soft commodity finance facility that was provided for them, a transaction oversubscribed by $1.8 billion.